In Mark Twain's short story The Invalid Story, the narrative revolves around a mix-up involving a pine box mistaken for a coffin, and the subsequent efforts of the protagonist to evade what he perceives as the smell of a decomposing body tainting his railcar. Despite William Dean Howells, Twain's esteemed friend, often referred to as the Dean of American Letters, advising against its publication due to its perceived indelicacy, Twain included the story in his 1882 collection, The Stolen White Elephant, etc. While some critics, echoing Howells' sentiments, have labeled the story as repulsive and grotesquely awful, others have embraced its dark humor rooted in frontier life. Before delving into the tale, the unnamed narrator discloses his affliction with an illness that prematurely ages him by 20 years, despite being only 41. He attributes this ailment to a train journey he undertook 2 years prior, during which he mistakenly believed a pine box contained a decaying body. However, he later learns that it actually harbored rifles. The story begins with the narrator returning to his home in Cleveland, Ohio, only to discover the recent passing of his dear friend, John B. Hackett. Committed to fulfilling Hackett's dying wish of being interred near his parents in Wisconsin, the narrator rushes to the train station with a long, white box matching the description of Hackett's coffin. After ensuring it is placed in the express car bound for Wisconsin, the narrator steps away briefly to procure provisions for the journey. Upon his return, he witnesses another man tagging the white box with an address for Peoria, Illinois. Bewildered, the narrator rushes to the express car and finds his identical box untouched. It is then that he realizes the mix-up. The box bound for Peoria contains Hackett's remains, while the one he is transporting holds rifles. Undeterred, the narrator settles into the express car, resigned to the chaotic turn of events. A stranger swiftly enters and exits the carriage, leaving a parcel atop the pine box. Unbeknownst to the narrator at the time, this parcel contains a block of mature Limburger cheese. Thompson, the expressman, seals the windows to shield against the wintry storm outside as the train embarks on its westward journey. Gradually, an unpleasant odor pervades the car, unnoticed by Thompson, who cheerfully hums while tending to the stove. Meanwhile, the narrator grows increasingly uneasy as the warmth of the car intensifies the smell, causing Thompson's humming to cease abruptly. Pointing to the pine box, Thompson remarks on the strong odor emanating from the narrator's supposedly deceased friend. Attempting to mitigate the discomfort, Thompson reminisces about past experiences transporting coffins and expresses relief that the occupants weren't merely in a trance, liable to awaken suddenly. Despite trying to inject some humor into the situation with references to scripture, the stench interrupts his efforts. Opening a window to gulp down fresh air, Thompson inquires about the duration of the friend's demise. Responding under the influence of the overpowering smell, the narrator underestimates the time, to Thompson's disbelief, leading to a discourse on the importance of timely burials. As the noxious odor becomes unbearable, Thompson and the narrator attempt to mask it with cigar smoke, only to find it exacerbates the foul smell, prompting Thompson to humorously speculate about the deceased's competitive spirit. Despite the narrator's observations of Thompson's changing references to their deceased companion and futile attempts to relocate the box, they both flee onto the platform in desperation, only to be driven back inside by the freezing weather, returning to the stifling atmosphere of the car. They alternate once more at the broken window until the train halts briefly. During the stop, Thompson leaves the carriage and returns with carbolic acid, convinced it will overpower the offensive odor. Sprinkling the acid liberally, Thompson is met with an even stronger retaliation from the spirited pine box, emitting overpowering vapors. Forced out of the car by the unbearable smell, Thompson and the narrator spend the ensuing hour oscillating between the suffocating interior and the freezing platform. At the subsequent stop, Thompson brings forth a peculiar array of items: chicken feathers, dried apples, tobacco, rags, old shoes, sulfur, and asafoetida. He piles these onto an iron sheet and sets them ablaze in a final attempt to dispel the obstinate odor. However, once again, the stench from the box prevails, driving the two men to the platform where they concede defeat. Thompson grimly predicts the onset of typhoid fever due to their prolonged exposure to the wintry weather. Upon reaching the next station, they are removed from the platform, rendered frozen and insensible, with the narrator succumbing to a fever for the subsequent 3 weeks. Although he eventually recovers, he acknowledges that his health has been irreparably damaged by his own imagination. Despite learning that they shared the train car with only harmless rifles and innocent cheese, the narrator reflects that it's too late. 2 years later, resigned to his fate, he faces imminent death. In the Invalid story, Twain employs dramatic irony to elicit humor. This irony arises from the reader's awareness that, while the narrator frets over what he believes to be the smell of a corpse, the truth is merely the presence of Limburger cheese. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.